Here are 5 reasons to support the annual Catholic Appeal. 1. Emergency assistance to those in need. 2. Inspiring young people to grow in their faith. 3. Keeping our homebound connected in the faith. 4. Crisis help for young families. And 5. Catholic education, forming our future leaders in mind and heart. We are sowing the seeds of God's love with your contribution. Please donate today online at diospringfield.org.
Coming up on this edition of Reel to Reel.
I'm Nick Morganelli. Camp Holy Cross has been prepped for the summer season. We'll talk with Father Chris Malatesta and all the plans for camping this summer.
I'm Steve Kiltonic. Lad Pfeiffer, a longtime music director of St. Michael's Cathedral, has decided to retire. I'll have his story, as well as his impact on the parish community.
And I'll tell you about a Boston-based food rescue agency bridging the gap between abundance and need. These stories are coming your way next on this edition of Reel to Reel. Hello and welcome to Reel to Reel. Now that the summer season is here, so many of us are eager to get back to our favorite warm weather activities that we look forward to each year. But as was the case with most things last summer, Camp Holy Cross in Goshen was closed due to COVID restrictions. Well, last month, this outdoor ministry of the Diocese of Springfield began prepping for the camping season. They're ready for the summer fun. Nick Morganelli tells us more.
Thanks, girls. Thanks for volunteering for Camp Holy Cross today. So I'm going to assign you guys to the welcome planter over there, okay?
There's a lot of and some and even more. And those are the sounds of progress. Volunteers including Knights of Columbus, Boys and Girl Scouts, campers and staff have been prepping not only all spring, but for the last year, awaiting the day when they can welcome youth for a summer of fun once again. Father Chris Malatesta, in his 3rd decade as camp director, expressed gratitude for the many helping hands.
Troop 38 from Adams here, splitting a lot of wood. So we took advantage of the camp being closed last year to take down any kind of dangerous tree. The scouts are working really hard to split them for us, and we'll put them around the campground and use them for campfires this summer.
With not having anybody here, it was a good, safe time to do it. So, we cleared what we could and really opened up the place and gave it some good air here.
And what does Justin do to help in the capacity of directing daily ops?
Do everything. Anything and everything that has to do with camp. I mean, it could be cutting trees, could be paperwork, could be painting, landscaping, mowing, whatever the heck needs to be done.
It certainly takes a lot of funding to keep a camp going. Father Chris has set the example by purchasing a brick that will go on the walkway as you enter the chapel here at Camp Holy Cross, part of their fundraising efforts. And there's a way that you can get a brick of your own to participate.
People can purchase a brick and put it down as a memorial, or they can write whatever they really want on the brick.
The bricks will be laid in the shape of a cross and are still available by donation through the camp website.
New Spirit's here, so some of their campers and at one time campers and some of their now adult volunteers, some of the kids that have worked with New Spirit over the years, so it's great to have them here. They're here cleaning cabins today, getting them really clean for the season, and I went into one of the cabins and inspected. I told them that they have to come back every year now.
This campground is not only the summer home for Camp Holy Cross staffers, but for campers for the youth ministry program New Spirit. They hold 2 summer week-long retreats, one for high schoolers and one for middle schoolers. Encuentro is another experience that calls Camp Holy Cross home. Usually happening on Memorial Day weekend, it was postponed this year.
They're missing their Encuentro family, they're missing an experience with God, and for many of them, their first time hearing about a God that's alive. Yeah, alive and wants to share himself with them. We want kids to understand that they're needed and they're wanted, and wherever they are and whoever they are, the guy upstairs cares. It's really basic. Love and faith.
There's a lot of kids out there, not just Latinos, that are looking for something. And I think this is a perfect place for them to find it.
Without camp, I just felt like I wasn't at home. At camp, I feel like it's a refresher. It's like a new year every time I go to camp.
Excited about smiles and changed hearts at Camp Holy Cross in Goshen. For Real to Real, I'm Nick Morganelli.
And in addition to summer sessions at Camp Holy Cross, Camp Veritas in New York State will offer 2 week-long sessions for junior high and high school youth. We have info at iobserve.org. And of course, vacation Bible camps will also return to many parishes this summer.
I'm Dan Dumas with your Real to Real news briefs. This past Tuesday, the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops began Religious Freedom Week, an opportunity for Catholics across the country to take a stand for the freedom on which this country was founded, the freedom to live out our faith publicly. This annual event runs until the Feast of Saints Peter and Paul, and you can follow along on the Roman Catholic Diocese of Springfield's Facebook page. And in Northampton, back on the first Sunday of June, despite some record-breaking heat, the freedom of religious expression was on full display as more than 650 people gathered for the annual Eucharistic Rosary procession through the streets of that city. Carolee McGrath reports.
Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen.
On the Feast of Corpus Christi, more than 650 people walked together in prayer in Northampton for the 19th annual diocesan-wide Eucharistic Rosary Procession. People first gathered at St. Elizabeth Ann Seton Church on King Street before the procession stepped off. Bishop William Burns spoke about the power of the Eucharist.
We're to bring Christ out into the world, and what a more obvious way to do that than to bring Christ out in the world, truly present in the Eucharist, and also to witness our devotion and our faith in this world that doesn't understand it, but it still draws people, I think, and welcomes them in to mystery.
Prayers were offered for the protection of life, marriage, vocations, healing for those who have been affected by the sexual abuse scandal, and for the protection of those serving in the military, and for police and all first responders. The congregation prayed the Rosary as they walked through downtown Northampton.
She asked us to pray the Rosary every day, not when we feel like it, but to pray it every day for the peace of the world and the conversion of sinners, and she promised that peace would triumph in the end.
Upon returning to the church, people prayed the Chaplet of Divine Mercy, and children placed flowers at the statue of Mary. After benediction was another special moment, as everyone sang America the Beautiful, and Bishop Byrne blessed the 3 Northampton police officers assigned to escort the group.
I think the Holy Spirit can work in people's hearts if they see people of faith, families, all old people, young people, all walking together, singing hymns and praising God. And this curious spectacle of carrying this beautiful monstrance with the Blessed Sacrament underneath a canopy will draw more hearts and minds away from here and hopefully up to God.
A God who was merciful and loving. In Northampton, I'm Carolee McGrath.
In other news, pro-lifers have been busy out in our parishes supporting life through various events. The monthly pro-life vigil at St. Michael's Cathedral in Springfield resumed again in May on the Feast of the Ascension at 10 a.m. The vigil, which is held the second Thursday of the month, was started more than 2 decades ago by Catholics for the Unborn. Marilyn Stearns of St. Mary's Parish in Longmeadow has kept the vigil going all of these years, but has been unable to attend recently due to the pandemic. But her friends in Christ are doing their part to pray and witness for the unborn. The prayer service begins with the exposition of the Blessed Sacrament. Participants pray 3 mysteries of the Rosary and the Chaplet of Divine Mercy. Adoration concludes with benediction just before the 12:10 Mass.
For myself, it lifts me up to know that I'm trying to help someone, and someone is hearing the prayer. So therefore, here's hoping that they hear my prayer and don't have the abortion.
One of the regular participants of the vigil is Amparo Moran. Her late husband, Tony, was an active member of the pro-life movement in the Diocese of Springfield. He was recently honored at St. Mary's Parish in Longmeadow as Father C.J. Watikis blessed a new stone dedicated to his pro-life efforts.
It was so important to Tony. Tony, like I said, he was on fire about the respect for life, that we have to respect life from the moment of conception up to the moment that we die.
The ceremony was supposed to be held last spring, but had been delayed due to the pandemic. Moran passed away in July of 2019.
And I think anybody and everybody who is part of the pro-life movement in the Diocese of Springfield knows Tony Moran. He lived part of his life at home and the other part of it down on Wasson Avenue, out there in the rain, in the snow, in the sleet, and believed in life from conception to natural death.
The memorial was paid for by the Knights of Columbus St. Mary's Council 5406 and the Parish Council.
We made sure that the stone was put in here for some place where everybody could see it, and we put it purposely towards the front of the building so that people not just coming to the church, but people passing by on the sidewalk can see that, and they'll recognize the commitment of this church to the Right to Life movement.
Other pro-life activities and prayer services are planned in the coming months. For announcements, follow the diocese on Facebook and Instagram. And pro-lifers were disappointed this past Wednesday as the U.S. House of Representatives rejected an opportunity to vote on the No Taxpayer Funding for Abortion Act by a vote of 209 to 218. This legislation would apply the Hyde Amendment government-wide and permanently prohibit taxpayer subsidies for abortion and abortion coverage. You can read more on this at iobserve.org. And finally, St. John the Evangelist Parish in Agawam has much to celebrate this year, kicking off the parish's 75th anniversary with a spring craft fair. It was a welcome sight for sure. After 15 months of being cooped up at home with little to do, folks flocked to St. John's Parish where some 40 local vendors displayed their craft.
People are we're really looking to do something. Haven't been doing anything for a whole year, and so they have quite an inventory, and they were so excited to be able to come to this craft fair.
From jewelry and pottery to handmade airplanes made from soda cans, there were many unique and interesting items.
This is just wonderful to be back together as a community. You can tell that they're really happy to be out and about.
St. John's hopes to make this craft fair an annual event. Look like some great items. Remember, you can always stay informed on all the latest news in the Catholic Church locally and beyond by logging on to iobserve.org. There you can read articles written by our Catholic communications staff, as well as watch on-demand episodes of Real to Real. That's iobserve.org. I'm Dan Dumas, and those were your Real to Real news briefs.
Thanks, Dan. We have much more ahead on Real to Real. Steve Kiltonick sits down with Lad Pfeiffer, organist at St. Michael's Cathedral, who is retiring after more than 2 decades of musical ministry. And Tackling Hunger, one Boston-based business's mission to rescue and distribute fresh food in the same day. These stories are still ahead on this edition of Real to Real.
Like Catholic TV on Facebook. Once you're there, you can join in on discussions, make friends with other Catholic TV fans, watch behind-the-scenes videos from the studio,
just finished this today,
and stay up to date with the Catholic world. All this at facebook.com/CatholicTV.
Mom. What are you doing today?
Providence Place, owned by the Sisters of Providence, an ideal rental setting for retirees to continue their active, independent lifestyles. We have bright 1- and 2-bedroom apartments, a magnificent chapel with daily mass, restaurant-style dining, and wellness and entertainment programs. Call for a tour, 413-534-9700.
Mom, call me when you're not so busy.
For 22 years, Lad Pfeiffer has served as the music director and organist at St. Michael's Cathedral. Pfeiffer retired recently and in doing so left behind a legacy of remarkable performances with the Cathedral Choir of Boys and Adults, a group he helped to form and one that people will treasure for years to come. Steve Kiltonick spoke to Pfeiffer before his last Mass at the Cathedral and prepared this report.
For the past 2 decades, St. Michael's Cathedral has witnessed the musical talents of Lad Pfeiffer, the music director of the Springfield Diocese. His accomplishments are many. Whether it's playing the organ or directing the Cathedral Choir of Boys and Adults, Pfeiffer has been present at every major event that has taken place in the cathedral since 1999. Pfeiffer decided to retire recently, but before playing his final note, he sat down to discuss his lifelong love of music. Pfeiffer grew up in Springfield, the 5th of 6 children born to the late Ladislaw and Teresa Pfeiffer.
My parents made sure that I and my 6 siblings all studied some sort of an instrument. It was just part of growing up in that house, and so you could not escape it.
Pfeiffer's instrument of choice was the violin. Around the 3rd grade, he started to sing in the Diocesan Boys Choir at Sacred Heart Elementary School in Springfield.
So I went off to Syracuse University to study with Louis Krosner, who was a well-known violinist at the time. During my first year there was a fabulous organ at the college, and I fell in love with the organ. And they told me I was nuts. I would never be able to really learn how to play it. It was too late in life, and I would never be able to support myself. But I said, oh, the hell with it.
Pfeiffer earned a bachelor's in organ performance, then a master's in music at Indiana University. He went on to study music and theology in Europe. After 7 years, Pfeiffer returned home to be closer to his family. He was the organist at Holy Family in Holyoke and in charge of a large children's chorus in Connecticut when the diocese called. They were looking for someone to start a resident choral program, which had been disbanded during the Second Vatican Council.
When I came here, there was absolutely nothing. There was no choral music, no instrumental music.
After arriving, Pfeiffer began recruiting boys ages 8 to 8th grade for the choir. Besides singing, Pfeiffer taught the boys how to read music and basic music theory, which was a key to performing difficult pieces well.
You give them the hardest stuff we have, and you have them rise up to the challenge, and they do. You just have to give them time and know how to prepare them.
For 21 years, the choir loft here at St. Michael's Cathedral was Lad Pfeiffer's home away from home. From this vantage point, high above the sanctuary level, Pfeiffer would play the magnificent Cassavan organ and also directed countless masses, funerals, ordinations, graduations, and other liturgical events. The choir became best known for its traditional performances like lessons and carols. Over the years, Pfeiffer chose most of the music, but some were selected by the boys themselves.
We did some very big pieces of Elgar. We did the Benedictus and the Te Deum of Elgar.
Other performances included Vivaldi's Glorias, Gounod's Mass No. 4, Dvorak's Mass in D, and the Bach Cantata for Passion Sunday. One of Pfeiffer's favorite annual performances was Tenebrae on Good Friday. Pfeiffer said his high point was the 2004 installation of Bishop Timothy McDonnell.
He was having all his friends from New York come, and I suppose he wanted to give them a good show. And we pulled out all the stops. It was just so many big things, and the building was full. It was just a remarkable event.
The Browers, Michael and son Jacob, joined the choir close to 14 years ago. Jacob appeared on Reel to Reel in 2010, shortly after he started.
What he did for the boys was try to say, what you do is important. It's not just you're coming to sing. You're doing something important for all these people to help them pray and to help increase their spirituality.
Each boy worked his way up from a novice to scholar, then senior chorister level. Pfeiffer recognized their achievements with an award ceremony each year. While most boys finished choir by the 8th grade, Brower continued.
I chose to stay because I really liked it. I liked singing. I liked every aspect of it. It was fun. It was something that I know that you don't ever get to experience in a lot of other places.
Evan Garber, who joined the choir in 3rd grade, was also featured on Reel to Reel.
He just was so patient and so understanding, and because it takes a certain kind of person to be able to basically babysit 30 to 40 boys, but also teach them like this insanely difficult music.
Pfeiffer inspired Garber to continue choir in high school and band in college.
He's just the greatest role model that any person could ever ask for. I still think about things that he would say or just the way that he looked at life. I think about it all the time.
He feels that music can bring so much to a person's life, and to instill that in a child, especially a young boy, and then I watch these young boys as they grow, they get older, you see that change. You see that self-confidence get instilled in them.
During the pandemic, when singing was non-existent, Pfeiffer continued the boys' music education through a set of donated handbells. Pfeiffer plans to spend his retirement years gardening and traveling the 7 seas in his 70-foot motor yacht. As he leaves behind his gargoyles and a pair of well-worn organ shoes, Pfeiffer has these parting words.
It's been wonderful. I'm one of the few people who can say they spend all their time in the house of the Lord.
For Reel to Reel, I'm Steve Kiltonick.
From time to time, you may see a guest appearance of Pfeiffer at St. Michael's Cathedral. He's happy to offer assistance to the new director when one is chosen, and said he's not retiring or saying goodbye as much as he's just stepping aside. These days, you'll find Pfeiffer enjoying some much-needed R&R at Acadia National Park in Maine, the first stop on his summer seafaring journey. We at Catholic Communications, who worked closely with Ladd, wish him the best and calm seas. And finally today, the story of a partnership between grocery store chains, food pantries, and a food rescue agency, all working to lessen food insecurity throughout Massachusetts. Boston-based Lovin' Spoonfuls has been in the business of saving perfectly good fresh food and bringing it that same day to people in need. You might say it's the best idea since sliced bread. They pick it up here and they bring it over there. Like a well-oiled machine, food rescue organization Lovin' Spoonfuls is helping to lessen food waste and at the same time put fresh produce, meats, and baked goods in the hands of those who need it the most. Founded in 2010 in the Boston area and launched in Western Massachusetts in 2019, Lovin' Spoonfuls addresses the idea that hunger isn't a problem of supply, but rather a problem of distribution.
We go to mostly supermarkets and other food retailers and rescue food that would otherwise be discarded for quality concerns or maybe over-purchasing, and we rescue it and deliver it to other nonprofits in the communities, like the Gray House. In Hampden County specific, we serve 23 nonprofits.
The Gray House, located in the north end of Springfield, is one of the poorest areas in the city and in the state. More than 45% of residents live below the poverty line. That's 4 times more than the state average. The market at Gray House serves 80 to 120 households per week.
So our partnership with Lovin' Spoonfuls is great for our agency. It provides us with several hundred pounds of food each week that we can give out into the community.
Each week, the Gray House receives fresh produce, meats, and dairy products, all items the social service agency appreciates, helping to create a well-balanced meal for their clients.
But it's great for our clients as well because it really adds a lot of variety and nutrition that we wouldn't be able to provide otherwise.
60 to 70 families each day typically receive food at Lorraine's Soup Kitchen and Pantry in Chicopee, with weekly deliveries from Love & Spoonfuls put to good use.
Over here we have volunteers who are getting the boxes prepared for our clients. Inside of each box will host all of the nutritional needs such as vegetables, fruits. You'll get your dairy, and you'll get your protein items.
And each week, Lorraine's sees about 3,000 pounds of food come and go out that same week.
Without agencies like Loving Spoonfuls working together with Lorraine's, we are not able to help out the community that really needs. So it's very important for agencies who are helping their community or agencies that are doing human resources to work together, because that's how we can start closing the gaps.
Charlie D'Amour, president and CEO of Big Y Supermarkets, says food waste is a big concern in the food retail industry.
How are you doing today?
Good, how are you?
Good to see you again.
Yes, you too. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Let me give you a hand with this. I think we've got some meat over there for you too.
And programs like Love & Spoonfuls provide a great service in rescuing and delivering to people in need.
What's intriguing to me is that they pick up here and they make the delivery right at the source. So they've kind of eliminated a little bit the middleman. The food banks are important too, of course, but they tend to focus on a lot of non-perishable foods. And having this perishable product, this fresh product that doesn't go to waste and can go feeding people that are hungry, and people that have hunger is just, it's part of our core here that we take very, very seriously.
In Hampden County alone, each week, Love & Spoonfuls rescues 304 pounds of baked goods, more than 4,600 pounds of produce, and more than 3,500 pounds of meat. A delivery to Margaret's Pantry in Holyoke helps this Providence Ministries agency in serving about 200 families each week.
Well, it's a huge, huge savings on our part. Before, if we wanted to give the clients some meat, we would have to buy it from the Western Mass Food Bank or go to the grocery store and buy it. But now we're able to give them fresh, frozen meat every week, every day.
With roughly 35% of all food produced in the United States going to waste, Love & Spoonfuls says they will continue to be a bridge in the gap between abundance and need. And the folks at Love & Spoonfuls say that at the height of the pandemic, it was reported that around 54 million Americans faced food insecurity. While rates of food insecurity have leveled off since reopening, approximately 42 million Americans continue to face food insecurity, an increase over pre-pandemic figures. That's 42 million too many. For more on Love & Spoonfuls, we have a link at iobserve.org. And for this week, that's Reel to Reel. Thanks so much for watching. Be sure to follow the latest news of the Catholic Church both here in the Diocese of Springfield and around the world on our news and information site, iobserve.org. That's iobserve.org, your trusted source for news on the Catholic faith. And also keep track of us on Facebook at Catholic Communications. We will see you right back here when we bring you a special 4th of July weekend treat. A half-hour concert by the ever-popular singing priests of the Diocese of Springfield. So be sure to tune in then for Reel to Reel, your window on the world around you.
Reel to Reel is a production of the Catholic Communications Corporation, funded in part by the annual Catholic Appeal, and the support of you, our faithful viewers.